Yo, what is up, homies? Episode 11, we're back. It's been a while, I think. God knows how long, but I've been drunk the whole time. Not
Month-long
really.
bender off the podcast, yeah.
I've been on a bender since then. But we're back, and there's some announcements to make that you've probably all heard anyway. One, and it's kind of anticlimax, isn't it? Because one, the big announcement is Mr. Bogdan himself. He's not here.
He's not
We
here,
were gonna,
but
yeah. So we'll probably do another podcast next week, and Bogdan will be on it, and I think he'll be able to make that one. But the announcement is closed and paid goes from 2 to 3. Now you probably are thinking, why did that happen? And why did that happen?
because he's really fucking good at sales. He knows his shit, and he makes a lot of money. And so I think it's an interesting perspective to have, as opposed to a lot of other groups just getting coached by some 19-year-olds who also got named to high ticket sales a few months prior. So there's my
Yeah,
thoughts.
absolutely. The only reason was because he makes money. So we were like, okay. No, I'm joking. Yeah, to be honest, I've watched, God knows, countless sales calls in my whole career, and one person I've always been impressed with when I've seen his calls is Bogdan, just from the sheer competency and the flow of them. And so it was an easy decision to make. But one of the biggest reasons why we brought Bogdan on was also because we're going in the direction of, we were always maybe going in this direction anyway, but putting more effort and time and resources towards our B2B offer. Now, the question is, why did we suddenly create a B2B offer?
Well, I think that we've always kind of done like one-off stuff like the B2B side for like different clients. And it's like I think that the more autonomy you have over a sales process, like the more you can affect the results, right? So for tons of different like offers or closers, whatever it may be that we've sort of like consulted with and like worked with hands-on. Sometimes from like a closer standpoint, like they're very limited in what they can do and how they can like position the offer, what they can say or what they can't say. And when it comes to stuff like pre-call materials or like the bridge concept that we talk about, like not all of them can do that. And so it's like you're limited what you can do. And as a result, you're limited the results you can get. And so when we work like super hands-on with a business, it's like, oh, do this, do that, do that. And then boom, they start making more money. And so it's like the more, again, autonomy you have, the better results you can get.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. It's kind of mental, the kind of difference of results we get with the people who have the more autonomy. But even if they're a business owner, and it just turns out quite a few level up students who we've worked with are some business owners as well. And it's enabled us to look at the whole funnel from start, from just seeing an ad or seeing a cold email, etc., to the actual offer and the sales call and post. Creates incredible results. And Bogdan has, of course, built his own company, EFX, the trading company, from its start of being just kind of a high ticket Discord group to where it is now. Being a 7 going on 8-figure agency product, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we're very, very excited about that. It's kind of ironic because just before this even happened, before we even had these conversations, I myself was writing B2B course and just expanding on a lot of the topics that we're going to be that we're doing anyway. And so I wanted to talk about some of those topics and what we see, starting with something that I feel is lost often, and it's this concept of the harmonious sales process, from seeing an ad to the closer call, and that kind of journey being something that is succinct in of itself. Because I don't know, I know, Ryan, you'll agree, we've seen a lot of people having actually good product, but this weird kind of the messaging and stuff before it really didn't relate to the product itself,
Oh yeah, for sure. That's something I've noticed in a ton of like different funnels and like offers that I've sold in the past. And I can probably list off 100 examples. And it's funny too, like the first time I ever realized this, I think about it all the time. And just in terms of like keeping concise messaging the same to like set up expectations, was like the first ever offer I sold was a free strategy session. We've talked about them before. They get on the call thinking it's a free strategy session as opposed to like a sales call to work with you. And like just simple words and stuff that they said in the VSL was more like, hey, you just need a couple $100 to get started, and there's no financial qualifiers. And so when I slapped down a $3,800 price tag, they're like, oh, I thought it was a couple $100. And those expectations just are not aligned, and even to use like the PR example, I remember like I was in the ads and I'm sitting there with my shirt unbuttoned saying, "Oh yeah, you want to get in Forbes, and New York Times, and Wall Street Journal, XYZ." We do that, and we absolutely could deliver, but like you have to pay a lot of money for it. And then you have every single person come on like, "Oh yeah, I just want to get in Forbes and Wall Street Journal." But it's not every single person can get in those types of publications, and so there's just like these misconceptions that people come into the call with because of the wordings that you use, like the messaging that you have. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to have a system in place to align those expectations, or the sales call is going to be difficult. That's how it is.
Yeah, I faced it yesterday, bro. I was reviewing a call where the messaging, to be fair, it was a cold DM on Instagram outreach, and the messaging was like a good hook. And the guy was like, yeah, cool, and then made him get on the call. So it's like the SDR is like, I did my fucking job, like, take it away,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it, because your job is to book calls. Okay, cool. So you get paid for that booking, right? But there's like a way bigger side to this that you're just forgetting, which is the close is way bigger. So we need to focus on that and the messaging on that. Don't trick people to get on that call. And you know what I was even saying is, I don't know why we don't just give out that information about what it actually is and the offer to them before that call. So when they say, yeah, I'm up for a call, and go to book in, give them a bit of an understanding. Don't leave it grey and blank.
Yeah. No, it's a good point too. Just like actually tell them what it is. Cause like the way it typically works, right? It's like you peak the message in that example, like the SDR kind of like did his job. But a lot of times, like I've realized this is like SDRs, DM setters, whatever it is, will kind of like finesse a little bit. And like the setter, even if it's on a phone call, they'll kind of like set a weird expectation. And sometimes they'll be like, even something as simple as like, yeah, they'll just like run you through the prices, they'll run you through the packages, they'll show you how it works. And then when you get on a call as a closer and you start asking them questions, they're confused because the setter said that they're just going to tell them the price and show them the package. And it just shit like that, it creates friction in the sales process. And if you could just, again, align expectations, whether it is to like educate them on the offers and handle those types of misconceptions, if you don't do that, it's going to be more difficult to close and call.
I was teaching my team, because obviously right now I'm now managing the closers. I was managing these SDR, the inbound guys, and now I'm managing the SDR outreach team. Right, so I'm just letting them do what they do. I've been doing so and just overseeing and watching. And one guy got someone on the call, and it was a really good lead. But the opening message was something like, got some really cool opportunities for you. Are you open to getting on a call? And I'm like, what does that sound like to you? It sounds like we're going to just give him loads of opportunities for free, doesn't it? Like, he has no idea he's going to be paying 20K for those opportunities.
Yeah. And more times than not, too, they're just a sales rep with fucking NEPQ questions for 20 minutes. It's going to piss the guy off.
Well, in most circumstances, at least in this instance,
Yeah.
my closers just, they see it coming on, and then they know it's what type of lead it is.
Yeah.
And so they'll just attack it a certain way. It's kind of crazy, because I've never had to manage that side. And so I've just always been like, oh, well, look, it's that type of lead. It comes from that flow. It's always going to be those guys in a really bad mindset. And so I'm able to like actually flip it on its head a lot of the time, but it's still like, it's just the worst situation, I was just having my first meeting with all of the SDR guys, outreach. I was like, guys, how much information is there to tell this person? When they agreed to the call, you can just say, before I schedule it in, do you mind if I ask 3 questions? Like, they were like, oh, that's a sick idea. I'm like, great.
Genius. Yeah.
Genius. So yeah, I'm going to report back soon with some insane results. I also said to them, guys, you do realize you don't have to book anyone up. You can just close them right there as well. Like, what's stopping you do that? Because if you ask some questions and then you realize they don't fit the avatar we work with, what's stopping you just sell them? They were like, what? Like, yeah, you don't have to just book calls. People are ready to buy and they're interested. Like, so again, another genius.
A lot of times, too, people don't really want to get on calls, right? And so if like you realize that in the messages, and like the point of friction isn't necessarily that they don't want to work with you, it's just that they don't want to just get on a bunch of calls with you, which is like 2 different things. And if you could learn how to sell to both of those avatars, you're going to make more money. Very simple.
It's a really good point actually about, I don't think people take it into account, is just the simple fact that not everyone is fine getting on calls. People are socially awkward. And so if the fact that your only way of buying is, cool, get on a call, you're going to lose quite a lot of people. I think there's a lot to be said for if they're there and they're texting you, you can actually get quite a lot of a good closing conversation type thing done. And depending on the offer, sometimes it might be cool to actually discuss price there and finish. But with some offers, then you might need to actually have the call. But there's a lot of room to be said for just warming them up by letting them carry on as we are over text and even via email. I know cold email guys, everyone does well and stuff. They do really well with a cold email, and then it's like, cool, you got 15 minutes for a chat, which is like, cool, but why not just carry on the conversation? Why can't you just email back with do you know what I mean? We're on emails, they've replied. Why don't we just continue?
Yeah, I don't
These are
know.
all the things I'm thinking at the minute because, like, I'm just overseeing all these different lines of leads coming in, and I'm just like, there's a lot of leads getting on the call, and they really aren't in any good position. They don't have any real expectations, and I'm like, looking at the education. So how are we educating prospects? With the closers, VSLs, there's PDFs going out. And then I'm like, well, cold email. And then I'm like, oh, outbound DMs. They've got no education. So, there's so many things to put in place, which is why the B2B offer is going to be massive, because if we can go into a company and not just look at a script and be like, yeah, do a yes or no. Oh, bridge, cool. But can teach people how to text close, email close, educate people. Like you have a funnel full of prospects, being in the right mindset.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think like the aligning expectations before sales call thing is like always huge. Because again, that's something that I've noticed before a lot, where it's like if someone has had a conversation with a member of your team and you're unaware of that, like you're just going in completely blind. The amount of times I've listened to a setter call or like read DMs or cold email, whatever it is before the call with me, and it's like you have to like lead with specific things. And if people just miss that and people don't understand, like just like that conversation beforehand, like it just you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot every time. And kind of like you said, I think that there's other ways to like progress that conversation in different like mediums like cold email and messages and texting, whatever it may be, to not just go from like 0 to 100 on sales calls. And even for example, too, this is in the B2B course, something that we used to do, I used to do this all the time, is like say someone booked it on Thursday. I would say, I just call them up. I would just be like, hey, I saw you booked in Thursday. You have a couple minutes to chat, go over a couple details, and then send them like pre-call assets. That's gonna like answer a lot of their questions. And then by the time we're already speaking, they're already warm. They're very educated. They like me because I made a good first impression over the call. And then like
Mm.
that call is the second call, like the closing call is extremely simple. It's like 15, 20 minutes, and you're in a better position to close them. It's just stuff like that, like getting ahead of it and not just relying purely on the sales call and asking a bunch of ridiculous questions as the only way to possibly sell someone.
Yeah, isn't there? We got a few in our group doing that.
Yeah.
Telling them the more educated a prospect is, even if it is just a bit of education, the more likely they'll close if it's right for them. So the more you can just like, if you have your chance to speak to them beforehand and actually give them some info and ask them some questions, warm them up, you already know each other, you have more chance on the actual call. Oh, amazing. I mean, not everyone has, if you've got a full calendar like me, I'm just thinking, I got so many calls. When a call, I have calls booked to my calendar and it's like today, one book's on for tomorrow. I look at it, I'm like, there's no chance I'm even going to have a second to speak to this person before my call. Not even chance. So I just got a VA
Yeah.
who will speak to everyone, right? And that's a good option. But one last thing I wanted to kind of talk about here, and it kind of relates, is, and I've spoke about it before, is the act of choice, right? So there's two sides to this. I believe objections in many ways on calls in general are lies, and not because of they don't want the product always. It's a lot of the time I believe because of choice, right? So it's like we're a group coaching, and we coach about real estate, and it's 9K to join, and that's your option. People will object, not because they don't want to be in, but because you box them in and that's the only way in. But if you had all these other options, 12K, 9K, 6K, 3K, I think I've said all this before. And that element of choice, I believe, is so huge. It's like Rolex have their 5K watch, I believe, and a 5 million. They have a really basic design and a elaborate design. Right? And why did they do that? It's not because they're stupid. It's because like they take the total addressable market and then they just capture like a huge amount rather than saying, have this. Now I'm coming back to my point. Choice is massive way before you even get to the fucking end of call, bro. Like I realized in like setters, giving people a choice. Do you want this call to be really short and go through just the things that are necessary? Or do you want me to educate you and provide you value on this offer? Bro, like people have been loving it. Oh,
Mhm.
really? Now you're not just going to give me like friction. You're not just going to ask my budget and shit. You're going to help me and you give me a choice. Oh, suddenly now they really like this call. Right? It's amazing. Doing this also on outreach DMs and cold email. When they reply, yeah, I'm interested. Perfect. So you've got two choices. We can jump on a call tomorrow at 5 if you're able, or I'm happy to do the majority of the explaining over this email. Let me know. I know that's like mental, but guys, implement choice across the board. It's powerful.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times the like the belief everyone has is like, yeah, get on a sales call, get on a sales call, book the call, book the call. But it's like for all the people who don't want to and will like otherwise ghost, it's like you're capturing them with a bit of an option, you know? And so instead of hammering someone 100 different times to get a call, when like the reason they're not responding is they just don't want to get on a call with you. If you head them
Mm,
back and say, hey, like maybe record a video going over what you want to talk about on the call, send it to him and say, hey, listen, we could just chat over email if this makes sense. Someone actually DM'd me on Twitter the other day, and I very rarely ever respond to it. But it was interesting because they were like, they basically outlined the specific offer. And then I was like, oh, cool, that is interesting. They sent me like a video going through it, and they were like, do you want to get on a call? If not, I'm happy to send it for pricing. I was like, yeah, send it for pricing. And I was just like looking through it. And I was like, oh, it's really cool. And I never would have gone on a call with a guy, but it
yeah,
was just interesting, kind of like the way people do it. And it just kind of got me thinking, like you said, just have choice, you're gonna capture more people.
that highlights a really good point, bro. Right? Because we've spoke about this before, but sales is just like this whole like pretend you're not selling or just convince the hell out of them. Right? So like really shady. The reason why people say let's get on a call, let's get on a call is because the price is a certain price and it's not for everyone. And so the best chance I have at closing you is if you actually get on this call and I can use my convincing tactics.
Yeah.
But if you have choice and you have all these different things available, suddenly your total addressable market is massive and you can give them the fucking pricing before. Like you don't have to be shady. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we have a real estate group and we help people go from this to this, but there's ways of accessing where, there's a 2K section, there's a 4, 5, there's a 7. Send the fucking pricing over. They're like, oh shit, like, yeah, I can afford quite a bit of this, not the 12K, but yeah, I'd like
Mhm.
to understand how it works. Now get on a call.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. We are just helping someone and like Level Up do this for their offer. There's like 5 different offers as part of it. Like there's different aspects that are good for like different avatars, and the prospects don't know any of that shit when they get on the call. And so most of the call is just trying to like figure out those details. And I'm like, bro, just write it down on a PDF, send it to him beforehand. Like general price range, here are the offers. This is for this avatar, this is for this avatar, and just for all the different offers. And so people read through that. They're like, oh, I want one-on-one help with my agency. So this offer would make the most sense. There's a price range, a couple different options. And like they're not going to figure it all out themselves. And if you can just make it something like an eighth grader could digest it in 45 seconds, like they're just going to come to the call way more prepared. And the call is going to be easier, and you can close them instead of try to guess what the best offer is and get it wrong, and then you're off their budget. Like just all those problems happen, not because necessarily it's like a bad closer, but it's just like the process itself and like communicating that information is very poor.
True. It's like you can't even be a really good closer, but the fact that there is so much to offer and like so little education before, even you can fuck it up, you
Yeah.
know? And quite often the prospect's there thinking, whoa, yeah, I think it's good, but I like definitely need to go and think about this. If you're giving him all that shit before, made it really simple to understand. I think I came up with a genius call to action.
Yeah.
People never heard of this. Got all these different products that offer, which I think is great, by the way. It's for your options, all different prices, so you can take the total addressable market. But the call to action was just like book a call, and it's like, yeah, but now you're going to be tasked with figuring all of that shit out on the call.
Mhm.
So call to action, take a quiz to find out what is the best solution for you. Then they answer all the shit, and then it goes, boom, this is for you. A PDF comes straight to you, explanation how this works, pricing, boom, bro. You probably don't even need to have a call. Actually, they'll be done. They'll probably say,
Yeah.
"Hey, can I have a call? I just need you to show me this tiny bit. I'm done." You know, order taking at its finest, bro.
Yeah, questionnaire funnels are kind of sick because it just puts that like responsibility in the prospect to like identify themselves. And like obviously at a certain point, you know your avatar. If they meet X, Y, and Z criteria, this is the offer you're selling them. And instead of just relying on a closer's
Mm.
ability to take them 0 to 100, ask them all the questions and figure out what offer is best for them and present it A to Z, you just like systematize that. And of course you can still have a closer take the call, but you're not like solely reliant on their ability to just again take a prospect from 0 to 100.
For sure. It's like closers just they get off by telling people how many objections they handled and shit,
Yeah.
rather than being just loving the fact that we've got such a good offer and products and system that we've made it just be super simple.
Yeah.
Like that in reality is what we should all be aiming for. I wanted to bring this last thing up, what I've been using for my setters, by the way, guys. And I know we've got a few people on Twitter and stuff saying you're bringing more stuff out about setters. One thing I use really well at the minute is prospects fill out a form and they put their budget. There's always different budgets, like what are you willing to spend for a successful campaign, right? It's nearly always bullshit. What they actually choose is bullshit, right? So I was like racking my brains. How do we actually improve this? Because it's very actually important for us to understand. Because if you can't spend X amount, like we're not having a conversation, But you can't just be like that, else no one will fill it in. It's just like a dickhead move. So I'm getting the setters right now pretty much say to them, I think it's at the end. So like at the end of the script, we purposefully leave off price and we'll be like, host, any final questions before I suggest next steps? And bear in mind, I suggest next steps, right? One thing I got the setters to do is do not mention a fucking book call at all throughout the whole time you're going to speak to them until they're wanting a call, right? That's been a revolution as well. So right at the end, we say, any questions before I suggest next steps? And they're like, always, what does it cost? Right? And we say, keep the range open, right? So we say, good question. So we have clients paying 3K as a one-off, and we have clients paying 350K as a one-off, and everything in between. But let me ask you, what you put on the form, now we put it on them. Now, what you put on the form of 10 to 15K, are you happy for us to kind of advise on what we believe would be best for you, or do you have any other kind of strict limits you'd like me to bear in mind? Then they just come out with how it's not true and it's way below that. It was 10 to 15, but now you've given them this open door. They go, yeah, well, it's just, maybe the 5 up to 5K type thing. And it's been great because now I've got the setters to, as soon as you hear that, you do not book them, you just sell them. Boom, done, finish, sell them, offer, And it's been great because now less shit people come up. The setters get to really understand where the person is, and they get to sell as well. Magic.
It's so funny. The last point I'll have, because I know we're running pretty long on this one, is like I've sold a shit ton of offers before I started like working with you on that offer, and it's so funny because like the mindset has always been, don't tell them the price, don't tell them the price, book them on a call, just say, oh, they'll answer all those questions on the closer call, like they'll answer it for you, and people get annoyed, people don't show up because it pisses them off, and on the closing call they say, don't say the price until you built the value, and go and ask your fucking NEPQ questions for 20 minutes and build the value and talk about their goals and then say the price, and it's like, dude, I have $400 in my bank account. Why the fuck did we waste all this time?
Yeah, but that guy, I think if you'd done the NEPQ question properly, you would have driven that that eagerness to find the funds, bro. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can find the funds if they really want it.
It was probably a tonality issue, and I just didn't talk about goals enough. I didn't ask him what had happened in 6 months if he didn't escape the matrix and he was still a slave and his wife hates him. That's the question I should have asked. Then he
The
would have.
gap was not large enough, was it?
I know. I'll be better next time.
Don't mention the price next time, bro. Not so
I
early. Give it 50 minutes at least.
know. Bare minimum.
But yeah, guys, it's a long one today, but welcome back.
Cheers, guys.